Hi, I'm Murray,
And I'm Jackie.
and we're here to talk about Equal Pay Day. So, Jackie, the most obvious first question is, what is Equal Pay Day?
Equal Pay Day is a symbolic day and it reflects our national gender pay gap. We calculate Equal Pay Day by working out the extra time women would have to work from the end of the previous financial year to earn the same amount as men. So this year, based on our national gender pay gap of 15.3%, Equal Pay Day is on Monday, the 4th of September.
So, the gender pay gap, can you also tell us a bit more about that? Because, my understanding is it's around $250 difference in average full-time weekly earnings between men and women. I mean,
that's right. It's a fair
Tell
whack.
us more. It is.
In a technical sense, the national gender pay gap is the difference between women's and men's average full-time weekly earnings expressed as a percentage of men's earnings. What it really is a measure of women's overall position in the paid workforce. Sometimes it's sort of misunderstood as just referring to direct discrimination. Actually, it's a bigger, really important yardstick that tells us, how are women able to progress in the paid workforce? Because, as we know, Australian women are really highly educated. Australian, women perform just as well as men, of course, at secondary and tertiary levels. But the gender pay gap tells us that women aren't able to progress through the workforce and receive the same rewards for their work as men do. That means that, our economy isn't realising the potential of women, and of course for the women themselves, it's a big issue in terms of that $250 a week less they're taking home when they work full time.
So, there's obviously some barriers.
Right.
Can you tell us more about what the barriers are for women in the modern workforce?
Mm-hmm. Research tells us that the biggest contributing factors to the gender pay gap are, number one, bias and discrimination. That means that even though there are laws that say that women and men should be paid equally and it's illegal to discriminate on the basis of gender, we have deep sort of cultural norms, I guess, around the way women and men should work and behave. What we see commonly is that even though employers don't set out to pay women and men differently, men do often get better outcomes in their negotiations with employers around pay. So we often see that men negotiate better starting salaries when they begin a job and get better sort of incremental pay rises. And the data is very clear that when it comes to additional payments, things like bonuses, these are going disproportionately to men. So that's bias, which is the first factor. The second one is our very segregated workforce. In the Australian workforce, women and men are very much concentrated in different roles and in different industries. Our most female-dominated industry is healthcare and social assistance, with over 80% women. Our most male-dominated industry is mining, with over 80% men. And guess which one is paid more?
Oh gosh, I could never guess that. It wouldn't be mining, would it?
It would be mining. So what we see as a pattern is that female-dominated occupations and industries attract lower pay than male-dominated occupations and industries. Thirdly, it's with the disproportionate amount of time that women spend on unpaid caring and domestic work. So what the data tells us is that for every hour of unpaid work that men do, women do an hour of 46 minutes. And this does impact on women's ability to be able to participate in the paid workforce and progress in the paid workforce.
So, the gender pay gap, there's a main statistic of what it is, but it must also affect women differently throughout their career. Like there are different,
right. Yes,
there are different
right.
gaps, I suppose.
Right. It's not that every woman is earning 15% less.
So, is there a time in a woman's life where the gender pay gap is bigger?
What we can see is that there is a gender pay gap from the start of women's careers, but it's in single digits, and it grows and peaks at the 45 to 55 age group, actually at 20%. This is concerning because it's the point really in careers where men are earning the most, but women's earning potential has already stalled and it's going downhill by that age. And of course that's an age when many people are sort of focusing on saving and that sort of thing. So yes, it does indeed impact differently throughout a woman's career.
And is part of the reason why the gap is so big at that age is because women have taken the time out to look after families, and I know, for example, that there's a lot more women working part-time and casually than full-time.
So the National Gender Pay Gap only compares full-time working men and women. So in that sense, it doesn't reflect, it doesn't capture the experience of all women, because what we know is that women are much less likely than men to work full-time. Women are more likely to work part-time and casually than to work full-time. Women work part-time at 3 times the rate of men. So this not only impacts, of course, their earning potential, but it does also impact their capacity to progress through their career. What we see very clearly is that workplaces aren't very good at utilising part-time employees. Our agency data shows that actually only 6% of managerial roles are currently work part-time. So it means for that, vast bulk of women who aren't working full-time, they're very much limited at the moment in their ability to progress. And absolutely, this is an area that employers need to rethink, because there aren't really good reasons why even senior roles can't be adapted to be worked part-time usually.
So we've heard about how the gender pay gap affects a woman's career throughout her working life. What happens at the end when she retires?
Currently, women are retiring with just half the amount of superannuation savings as men. This is increasingly being recognised as a big sort of social and economic challenge, really. Older women are unfortunately, after a lifetime of contributing through paid and unpaid work, retiring often into poverty. This is really a terrible state of affairs in 2017. It's really good that it's receiving a bit more attention, but we think that, of course, that cumulative impact of the gender pay gap, in addition to the enormous imbalance in paid and unpaid work between women and men, is really an area for urgent action. That's why this Equal Pay Day, we're really encouraging everyone to get involved.
And you can get involved this Equal Pay Day. Come to our website, download our social media pack, print out one of these, take a selfie shot, go online and join the conversation, #EPD2017. And you can also go to our website and get the Gender Pay Gap fact sheet, which will tell you more about the gender pay gap in more detail. Thanks, Jackie.
Terrific. Thanks, Murray.